Good morning, everybody. I'm going to go back on mute, but I just want to let you know this is Councilman Chris Harsh, and I'm here for a case in Ward 13 today.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, July 7th, and we're going to get started with our hearing this morning. Before we do that, we'll get started with the preamble. Madam Secretary.
Good morning. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this Monday, July 7th. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the city planning department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have been considered. We've also received emails from those who provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Can we call the roll, please?
Sure. Ms. Faith?
I'm present.
Mr. Madison?
Present.
Ms. Holzer?
Present.
Ms. Roca will be absent this morning. And Ms. Wilson?
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 4 members. We should state to the applicants at this time, with 4 members, they run the risk of a tie vote. If there is a tied vote, the variance is denied. So at this time, the appellant can request a future date when we would have 5 members to avoid that risk.
Okay. So given that we only have 4 members today, is there any appellant who would wish to request a postponement and have their case heard when there's actually 5 members present? If that is your wish, you can speak now and we will postpone your case. All right, I'm not hearing anything, so we'll move forward with the cases as they are listed on the agenda. Are there any postponements or withdrawals, Madam Secretary?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, very good. So we'll go to the first case, which I am tracking as calendar number 25-105. This is at 4138 Pearl Road. Do we have anyone present on behalf of Nunzio and Carlina Marzano? Okay, please come forward to the table. And while you do that, I'll have Ms. Hoser read in the case.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our first case is calendar number 25-105. I'll wait till the slides catch up.
So I think we're looking at 2 different agendas. I see calendar number 25-101 first on our agenda, the history, but I also see Councilman Chris Harsh on this case is for
105, yes, yep. So
Okay.
we've called Chris Harsh's case. We're good?
All right, I'll keep it moving. So our first case is calendar number 25-105. This is at 4138 Pearl Road. Nunzio and Carlina Marzano, owners, propose to establish use as a workout studio in a G2 local retail business district. The owners appeal for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 3. And with that, Madam Chair, I will hand it to Mr. Madison for the oath.
Thank you. For those who would like to speak on this case, can you please raise your hand and repeat after me? This will also apply for those who are attending the meeting online. Do you affirm that the testimony that you are going to give today is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your right hand, reply with "I do," and state your name and spell your name for our court reporter. We'll start here with you.
Yeah, my name is Jacqueline Galvin. It's the Bay Q-U-L-I.
So you have to turn your mic on there. Need her to repeat? Please repeat.
Jacqueline Vizalden, Jacqueline. Last name V as in Victor, Isalden.
And I do.
I do.
Thank you. Moving online, anyone that would like to speak on this case, can you please raise your hand, reply with "I do," and state your name?
I do. Chris Harsh, K-R-I-S-H-A-R-S-H, Cleveland City Council, Ward 13.
And I do.
I do.
Thank you. Is that everyone that needs to be sworn in for this case? Thank you. We'll turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Mr. Madison. We'll start first with history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The property was originally zoned general retail in 1929, and our records indicate that in 2017, it was changed to local retail business and placed in an urban form overlay district. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1931, a permit was issued to erect a stores and office building, establish a new storefront, and also a warehouse on the property. And again, that was in 1931. And then in the more recent history, Madam Chair, we see that there are no variants on file. And then we see that there were permits pulled in 2004 to repair a roof and a chimney on the property. There was an attempt to establish a use as an adult training center in the north tenant area of the first floor. Then and that was in 2015. In 2016, we see that there was a certificate of occupancy issued to allow for use of the basement for cheese manufacturing. And then in 2020, a certificate of occupancy was issued to establish use as a cheese shop. And that's all that I have that's relevant. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the minimum distance requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create an unnecessary hardship particular to the property such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty that not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. I will now turn to you. I noticed that you're not the owner of the property. Do you have something on file that gives you permission to speak on behalf of the owners?
I am the rentee of the property, so I operate and own Old Brooklyn Nutrition, which is at 4138 Bull Road, and then right above is the space that we would like to rezone as a workout studio.
Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have authorization for Jacqueline to speak on behalf of the owners in this matter?
I'm not seeing it.
Okay. So
What was the one that filed?
okay, understood. So what usually happens is when you're not the actual owner, you just have to have a form
Okay.
signed by the owner and submit it to our secretary. It's just stating that the owner gives you authorization to follow this process. So we're here the case today, and whatever decision we make, it'll be conditional on you getting that form to us, okay?
Okay.
All right, and will you email the form to her, or how should she get the form?
We can, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can email it to her as long as I have a good email address for her. And I'm not seeing it, so I'll have to get it. I can give her my card
Okay,
and she can email me and request it.
okay, perfect, sounds good. All right, well, tell us about your project and what you have going on.
All right. So our studio is just not going to be a fitness space. It's a holistic wellness hub designed to transform lives from the inside out, rooted in community empowerment and accessibility. Our mission is to provide a safe and inclusive environment where individuals can heal, grow, and thrive physically, mentally, and spiritually. We plan on combining dynamic group fitnesses, mind practices, and nutritional support to meet the diverse needs of our community. With a proven track record, we have been operating at Old Brooklyn Nutrition will be 5 years in October. And through that impact, our wellness programs, events, and partnerships, we are committed to creating a positive change and sustainable health throughout the community. Improving the studio would mean supporting local entrepreneurship, promoting public health, and fueling a movement that uplifts the community with purpose, passion, and results.
Okay. So it sounds like you're going to build a workout studio. Can you tell us a little bit more about the studio? What are the hours of operations? What is the staffing plan and so forth?
So right now, we would start off with probably just minimal classes, just to start, getting off. We have a couple instructors lined up who are willing to contribute their time and talents. We would probably be operating more in the evening hours. The future of the studio would be to be like a private workout space. So people would be able to either opt in memberships or do drop-in fees to have private time to work out. I know that there's especially a lot of women who don't necessarily like going to bigger gyms because of like the people and being looked at, and just really giving people an opportunity to have a safe place to commit themselves to a holistic fitness and wellness journey.
Okay. And what are your hours of operation into?
Right downstairs at the coffee shop, we're 6 to 6 Monday through Friday, 8 to 3 Saturday and Sunday. And then the studio would be operational within those hours.
Okay, got it. All right. Any other questions from the board? All right.
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I missed, she stated there were hours. Is that what is operating there right now? I'm sorry, I missed the testimony on that. They're currently operating in the.
So right
site?
below, so the studio, that studio zone is on the second floor of the building. And right below is our nutrition shop. So we operate from 6 to 6 Monday through Friday. And then 8 to 3 Saturday, 9 to 3 on Sunday.
Answers your question?
Thank you, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'll turn it over to any other board members with questions.
And just so that I'm clear in terms of the hours of operation, if you're thinking, about your long-term planning, are you hoping that the studio would be open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or would you be doing night classes
We'd
later?
probably go a little bit further to do night classes.
Okay.
So then we'd probably be to about 8.
Okay. Other questions from the board? All right. Councilman Harsh, would you like to speak at this time?
Yeah, good morning. How is everybody?
Good morning.
Good
Doing well.
morning.
How are you, Councilman?
Wonderful. That was my mic check. Madam Chair, members of the board, I have no grave reservations here. It seems like a nice community use. I did not realize there was anything open on the first floor, though. Through Madam Chair to the appellant, what is the name of the coffee shop and when did it open? I did not realize there was a business open to the public there.
It's Old Brooklyn Nutrition. We opened in 2020. We signed our lease in August of 2020 when everything opened right after the pandemic, and we've been operational ever since.
Oh, okay. Through the chair, the appellant, I would encourage you to reach out to the Old Brooklyn Community Development Corporation. I don't know that they've really, they kind of help promote local businesses in the area. And I had no idea that you were operating there. I've been councilman now for almost 4 years. So maybe there's just a way to hook up with the other businesses in the neighborhood that can help you get the word out about what you're doing. Unless you prefer a private clientele or something. I have no concerns here. I guess my question to the Madam Chair is, what is the reason for needing a variance for a workout studio? This is a head scratcher to me. I thought it was always okay to set up some equipment and let people exercise. I didn't know that was like a needed variance.
Yeah. Chief Leonard, I can see that you're online. Is that a question you can address for the councilman?
Can you restate the question? I apologize.
Yeah, sure. Through the chair to the Chief Leonard, was the reason for a variance needed for a workout studio? I didn't know that was a more restrictive use than just, I think it's what general retail. I thought that was permitted. I thought workout studios were already permitted. What's the classification there that makes them need a variance?
Yeah, so the zoning here, I believe, is limited retail business or local retail. But the reason why is because workout studios, gyms, places of recreation that are for business or for gain, have those requirements that have to be in terms of separation requirements from residential and things of that nature. So it's kind of archaic in terms of our conventional or Euclidean code when we think about these types of uses. And so that's the need for variance. So, but in this case, I think what they're proposing is like a boutique type studio. And city planning can talk about that further.
And through the chair, to Ms. Leonard, would form-based code allow this by right?
Yes,
Okay.
for the, based on the size and square footage. So it kind of delineates the, it being less of like more of a neighborhood amenity and less of a destination.
Madam Chair, I have no objections. This seems totally fine to me. Doing something really nice. It's on a commercial corridor. There's houses behind it, but they're a ways back. I think this is totally fine, and I have no objections. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Harsh. Mr. Bay, I'll turn. I was going to turn to Mr. Bay for a word from city planning. He's not here at this moment. What's that? That's unusual.
It seems that Mr. Bay had to step out. Ms. Leonard, would you be able to speak to city planning's view on this, or should we wait a few more minutes?
I think kind of just along the lines of the councilman's questioning about why this is not permitted or where it's permitted. I think when we think about retail, city planning generally looks for these types of boutique uses to fill up our vacant shop fronts. So I don't think that they would have an issue with the use being proposed at this location.
Okay, thank you for that, Chief Leonard. One more question. Would you say that this use is in keeping with the spirit and intent of the zoning code, given the context of this neighborhood?
Yes, I do believe that one could state that a boutique fitness wellness center is definitely within the character of the neighborhood and along our commercial corridors.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that.
Madam Chair, just a question before we
Please.
proceed. Can you speak to the practical hardship if the variance is denied today?
Yes, well, definitely for my, the people like Carlina and Ms. Nunzio, like that space has been vacant so long, they have no idea what it even was used for before they have in that building. So, and especially for me as a growing business, I'm reaching my 5 years, which is like a big deal for entrepreneurs. And I want to be able to expand and grow within this neighborhood instead of having to go find another location or open up another location and build from scratch. I feel like that, not being able to do that will definitely cap where I'm able to grow in my business.
Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Madam Chair, motion to approve calendar number 25-105 based on today's testimony.
All right, is there a condition?
I'll add the friendly amendment with the condition that the authorization form is submitted on behalf of the owners.
Okay, perfect. So Mr. Madison has moved to approve. We have a friendly amendment. Is there a second?
I seconded it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Faith. Can we call the vote?
Sure. Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-105 is granted conditionally. We'll hold it until we receive that authorization letter. And once we receive it, we'll ratify it that following Monday. Here's my card. If you can just send me a quick email and I will respond by the end of the day with the form. Thank you.
All right, you're all set. Good luck to you. All right, thank you, Councilman Harsh, for being here. Take care. All right, we're next gonna go to the next case. We'll start back at the top of the agenda. And I have at the top of the agenda, calendar number 25-101. This is at 2114 West 85th Street. Do we have an appellant present on behalf of North Coast RE LLC present? In the room or online? All right, going once. Anybody present from North Coast RE LLC? All right, we'll put that case at the end of the agenda. We'll recall it to see if an appellant appears. I'll go to the next case, which is calendar number 25-102. Do we have anyone present on behalf of DLHI Cleveland LLC?
I am here, Josh Horning. I'm the owner.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for announcing yourself. We'll go ahead and read the case in, and I'll turn that over to you, Ms. Hoser.
Our next case is calendar number 25-102. This is at 7608 Longview Avenue. DLHI Cleveland LLC owner proposes to change the use of an existing 3-story frame 2-family residence to a 3-family residence in a B1 2-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 5. And with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Madison for the oath.
Thank you. Josh, at this time, please raise your right hand, and at the end, I'll request that you repeat after me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your right hand, state your name, spell your name, and reply with I do for the record.
My name is Joshua Horning. My last name is spelled Horning, and I do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online that would like to speak for this case or in the room? I see another person. Please raise your right hand and consider the same. State your name, spell your name, and reply with I do for the record.
Looks like
We
you're on
can't hear
mute.
you.
You'll have to unmute your microphone so that we can hear you.
No, it's not.
Go on mute. I can see your lips are moving, but we can't hear you. All right, you're now no longer on mute, but for some reason we still can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you now. Go right ahead.
My name is Selena Watley, SALENA WHATLEY, and I live next door to 7508. My address is 7516 Longview.
Can you please reply with I do that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. With that, we'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that. Let's go to history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. The administration office, we found very little, only that a garage was erected on the property in 1930. Madam Chair, we see that there's been a lead safe certificate property in 2023. There's been a rental registration property since. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, let's see here. Appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the minimum lot area, maximum gross floor area, and parking requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. I will now turn to the project team. Mr. Josh Horning, do you want to give comment about your project?
Hi, yes, good morning. Thanks for Thanks for hearing me on this. A little bit of background about me. I'm actually formerly, or actually, I was born and raised in the Cleveland area, um, in Macedonia, actually, Ohio, just south of Cleveland. And I I've just started my investment kind of career, I guess. And first place I wanted to go to is back into Cleveland, and so this is my first property in the Cleveland area. And when I purchased the property, the rehab was the third floor rehab, which is really the subject of the variance, and is was complete. So the entire interior of the property was 100% complete. I took it over, and I really just took it to 100%. So I ended up putting a new roof on it. I finished replacing all the windows. I upgraded the electrical. And when I purchased the property, I had assumed, right, wrong, or indifferent, and this being my first property, that it was already legally a 3-unit property. And come to find out it was not when I went to go to refinance the property. So that's kind of where it stands. Originally a 2-unit, want to make it a legal 3-unit and rent out the third floor. I've been in contact with some local residents there on the street who have been very gracious in helping me maintain the property and things like that. And so I guess in renting out the third floor, it would really just kind of really provide continuity in what I had originally visioned for the property, and wanting to provide really great residence for people to rent out and for the local community. So I guess I'll stop there, and thank you again for hearing me.
Okay, can you describe the way the utility meters are arranged at this time? Meaning, is there 3 separate utility meters on the property?
Yes, there's 3. Well, the water meters, one water meter, so I will be paying water. There is 3 electrical, and there are 3. There's 2 gas meters, and the third floor would be utilizing electric baseboard heating for the heating. There would be a separate. So all the third floor would be all electric, and then first and second floors would be gas for the hot water tank and the appliances.
Understood. And can you describe the unnecessary hardship that you would face if you're unable to use this property as a 3-family?
Well, I guess the unnecessary hardship would be assuming that going into it, assuming that it was a third unit, there would be a financial, loss on my part in that I wouldn't be able to refinance it as a 3-unit, and thus the value of the property would not lend itself to that. I would end up refinancing it at a loss or selling it as a loss.
Understood. Any other questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I do have a couple of questions. Is there a site plan? So the third, fourth, and fifth sections of the code that were written up are related to parking. And so to the appellant, can you describe what the parking situation is?
Yeah, so there is a driveway, a partial driveway that extends on the, I guess that's on the west side of the property. And you'd be able to park 1, possibly 2 cars there. And the alternative would then be to park along the street.
And there's no paved parking behind the house.
There is no paved parking, no.
Okay.
And from my research, it doesn't appear to ever been.
So per the code, you cannot park a car in the driveway if it's within 10 feet of an opening, be it a window or door. So we would have to make a decision over whether or not we would approve calendar number 4. But it seems that at this time, there is not adequate parking on site on the parcel. which is a statement, not a question.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Through you, Madam Chair, is there street parking available to the appellant?
Mr. Horning, can you speak to whether there's street parking available?
Yes, there is street parking available, and actually the property adjacent is vacant with no improvement. So there would be some parking available within a walking distance of the property.
And through you, Madam Chair, is this considered a short-term or long-term, lease that you plan to impose for your property?
These will be long-term rentals.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Other questions from the board?
Madam Chair, to the appellant, do you have adequate width from the house to the lot line to run that driveway to the rear of the lot?
It would appear that we might have. I think there's maybe 10 foot, so it would be tight. Typical lane widths on roadways are 12 foot, but
Right.
they can go down to they can go down to 10 feet, but it's pretty slim.
Yeah, okay. Just trying to give you an option to run a driveway so you could do a parking pad in the backyard.
Yeah,
You
understood.
cannot-
Yeah.
Yeah, as Ms. Holzer mentioned, you cannot park a vehicle on that pad. So if you're gonna anticipate anyone trying to use that, you might be better off eliminating it and just going street parking. And also looking at the third floor, what's the square footage exactly for the third floor?
Square footage of the third floor is around 850.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's actually 2 bedroom. We were able to get they were able to get 2 bedrooms. I actually didn't rehab the top floor. It was already complete when I purchased the property.
Yeah, I'm looking at the site plan now, so, good square footage, I guess. Just
Mhm.
didn't have overall dimensions on it, so, great. That concludes my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Ms. Faith. We will now turn to Ms. Selena Watley for comment. You want to go ahead and give your comment? You have to come off of mute so that we can hear you.
Hi, everybody's doing this morning. Actually, I'm on the wrong one. I thought it was the one next to me, which is 7520. So I have no disagreement about 7508. Sorry about that.
Okay, all right, no worries. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, I'll now turn to Mr. Bay to give comment on behalf of City Planning.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Xavier Bay, representing City Planning for this case. We support the variances for the 3-family home. Our administration is supportive of density, and this neighborhood fits the context. Also, we support the minimum lot area and the variance for parking, as we're moving away from parking minimums through TOD and our form-based code zoning districts. With that, I'll end my comments.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Bay. All right, if there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Madam Chair, I move approval of calendar number 25-012, given the testimony that we've heard today and satisfying our questions about parking and the unit size.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Faith. Is there a second?
Board Member Madison, second.
All right,
Can I just, to make it, to be clear, we would be approving it without any on-site parking. So it would have to be all off-street or on-street parking for the tenants. I just want to make sure that's clear to Mr. Horning.
Right.
Understood.
Excuse me, I also wanted to clarify the comments that were made about an adjacent lot that was mentioned. That I think Mr. Honing had mentioned another lot to use for parking. You want to make sure that you submit a permit application for whatever lot you decide to use for parking, and you also have to meet said site-specific requirements for the zoning code. I just wanted you to be aware, so you don't let your residents know that they could just park on any vacant lot. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Bay. Mr. Horning, do you have any questions about that?
No, and just to clarify, my comment earlier was that there is no improvement to the west. To the west property, and therefore, I guess there would be a parking available on street adjacent to that property for parking. I didn't have any plans at this point to provide parking on the adjacent property. I believe it's owned by the land bank, and I'd have to purchase that property in order to improve it.
Okay, very good. Just wanted to make sure that you understood. So we have a motion, we have a second. Can we call the vote, please?
And Madam Chair, just to further complicate things, we want to be clear too that we're not giving a variance to item number 4. And I believe it will be item number 5 as well, since he is not proposing parking on or we're not allowing parking on the property. So
Okay,
the items 1 through 3 we're approving today.
this is correct.
Okay. All right. Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-102 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday, and we will send the appellant a letter. He can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
All right, Mr. Horning, you are all set. Good luck with your project.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. We'll now turn to the next calendar number, which, oops.
I want to make sure that we are going, are we going to 25-103?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So we're next going to call calendar 25-103. Do we have someone present from J&S Great House LLC? All right, please come forward. And while you do that, I'll have Ms. Hoser read in the case.
Our next case is calendar number 25-103. This is at 3670 East 108th Street. J&S Great House LLC owner proposes to change the use from a single-family residence to a residential facility for 5 people in a B1 two-family zoning district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. With that, I will hand it over to Mr. Madison for the oath.
Thank you. For all those who will be speaking on this case, can you please come forward or indicate online that you would like to participate in this case? All right, those in front of us, can you please raise your right hand? Please repeat after me, after the saying here. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your right hand, state your name, spell your name, and reply with "I do" for the record. We'll start with you.
Kalia Brown, Kaliah, last name is Brown, like the color, BROWN, and I do.
Thank you. We'll move to you, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Gray, DEBORAHGRAY, 601 Lakeside Avenue. I do.
Thank you. With that, we'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, did you want to speak in this matter or no? No? Okay, very good. Can we have history of the property, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. 1 second, I apologize. Okay. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that only that a garage was erected on the property in 1922. And that in 1966, a permit was issued to move private garage from the property. To 1973, a permit was issued to apply aluminum siding and erect a chain link fence. There were alterations to repair a single-family front porch in 1983. And then in 1983, later in that year, a permit was issued to demolish a garage on the property. And then there are no variances on file. And then in the more recent history, we see that there were violations issued to the property in 2012 regarding exterior issues. In 2012, a residential condemnation was a permit was issued to make corrections to the property. And then in 2020, we see that there was HVAC, refrigeration permits pulled, plumbing permits pulled, electrical, and then in 2022, rental registration was issued to the property. And that's all that I have. That's relevant. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. Can we please have legal?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the minimum distance requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Excuse me. I'm online and nobody, I didn't hear them say if there was anybody online who wanted to speak on that property.
Yes, we're actually speaking right now on 3670 East 108th Street. Are you here to speak on that property?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Give me 1 second and we'll swear you in.
Okay.
Madam Secretary?
Madam Chair, we need to set the record straight. Apparently, there was an error in the posting. This is not in Councilwoman Gray's ward at this time. In fact, in Kevin L. Bishop's ward, that's Ward 2. So this was advertised as being in Ward 4 when it's actually in Ward 2. I do have a letter when you're ready for me to read that. I do have a letter from Councilman Bishop, but we were just made aware of that error this morning. Would like to apologize to the Councilwoman and the Councilman about that. However, for the record, the neighbors were properly notified.
Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yes,
Is
yes.
there any
We
issue?
made sure that it's based upon the parcel number and so on and so forth. So
Perfect.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, very good. Thank you for that. Do you have anything preliminary based on that, or would you like me to give the applicant a chance to speak?
Well, since this is not my ward, because it was a mistake, I will not speak on it
Okay.
as of now, being respectfully. Councilman Kevin Bishop just gave her the information of the situation, so I'm going to just remove myself
Okay.
from the case. That's why I came anyway.
Got
and
it.
That's what we discussed.
Okay. Well, Thank
Okay.
you for coming. All right.
Councilwoman.
Okay, so we will hear from you. Tell us about your project and what it is that
Wanna
you
swear in
intend
the-
to do.
Folks online?
Yeah, once we have her speak, we'll swear in. Yeah.
Okay, my mission statement is, the mission of our program is to provide and protect the health and safety of adults with or without disabilities. We will assist them in independent living, enhancing their quality of life with fairness, equality, and freedom throughout the community engagement. And knowing our purpose in life is a great gift, and knowing that you could be a powerful motivator, which enables you to focus your energy onto helping others achieve any goals they may have. Helping others gives us a sense of direction and brings joy and fulfillment in our lives. I also got signatures from the residents in the area. Kevin Bishop told me to go around because there was like another group home in the area, and he told me to go around to get some signatures from people. I did. A lot of people wasn't home, but I still typed up a letter that I had the people signing signatures on and left them in their mailbox and stuff like that. Or some owners wasn't home at the time, so the people that was in the house couldn't speak for them to get signatures. And I also printed off the address from my address and the address that the city gave me that they said that was within 1,000 feet from the other group home. And I got, it's a little bit over 1,000 square feet.
Okay. And the signatures you have, how many do you have on your page?
I have 11.
You have 11. And are those signatures from East 108th Street, or are there other signatures from?
From both streets, I had the signatures from 108th, 2 people that was behind 108th. I think that's 100. I think that's 106, if I believe that's right there. And on the 110th, a lot of people wasn't home that day, so I just left letters in their mailbox.
Okay. And have you heard anything from anyone that you left correspondence with?
No.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your program, who you intend to serve, your hours of operation, staffing, and so forth?
The hour operations will be 24 hours. We will have 24-hour surveillance cameras. For our staffing will be me, and due to state regulations, I will also have to hire someone that's besides me, which I have that as well too, 2 other employees as well. I'm just want to give back to the community, help people with housing and placement. I've been in this field for about like 6-7 years. I currently work with veterans and people with mental disabilities, and I just wanted to take a step forward and doing my part in helping people with housing. And I know it's there 5 people, but I was only going for 4.
Okay.
Yes.
That was going to be my next question. And what is the population that you will house? Describe the population you'll house.
So far as the people that I will be getting, I wouldn't know until after I get approved, and I would have to go to state, and then I plan on getting my people. I only have to have 1 person with mental disabilities in my home. So that would just be like that. I can't say as far as the people that I would get because I have to follow steps and protocols in order to get my people first. So I had to get my house approved first, and then I would reach out to a survey person that would come out and see the home, as far as like the furniture and everything, having that placed in the home, and then I would go from getting my people like that. But furniture and everything is already placed in the home, like it's move-in ready.
So when it comes to your business plan, who are you planning to serve?
People with disabilities or
Would that be
people without
males or
disabilities.
females?
Males,
Okay. And what age
Well-
range are you targeting?
30 and up.
Okay. Do we have other questions from the board?
To the appellant, do you own any other group homes?
No, this will be my first.
Okay. And do you own J&S Great House LLC?
No,
Okay, who owns that LLC?
my friend, he's here, but I had the authorization form to speak on behalf of the house.
Okay, perfect. And was that submitted prior or do you need to
Yes.
submit that now?
No, it was submitted prior.
It was, okay.
Yes, but I just have it as well.
Perfect. All right, other questions from the board?
Yeah, Madam Chair, can you speak to maybe just your security plan, not only for your residential unit, but for the community?
Yes, I do have my disaster plan with me as well. As far as the fire emergency, power outage, water breaks, natural disasters, evacuation procedures, safe spots and everything. I have all of that printed out. Ready, we will be like relocating to a hotel if anything. I have all emergency contacts that they will be able to reach on like a board and everything in the house. Have everything on file and everything like that. Yes.
Can you
Did you see that?
speak to, if for some reason something happens internally in the home, or, what's the security that you have, for the residents that are living in the property, but then also, what happens, if something happens in the community? Is there a plan in place?
Yes, so they will always be with staff. The house will always have cameras in and outside the property. As far as if anything, if something was to go wrong, I have the guidelines, I have everything printed out and ready. Like say if it was a fire, we would just step back from the property. We have to do a fire drill and everything once I get the clients, so they will come along and but we will relocate to a hotel just in case there was a flood, any damages or anything to the property. Yes, it will all be on me and we will relocate to a hotel.
Can you speak to the medical plan? Do you plan to distribute medication
No,
on site? Okay.
but I do have, I am certified and all of that stuff as well, though. I do have that too.
Thank you. And last question to you, Madam Chair. Can you also just speak to the parking for staff and residents?
It will be, we have a garage and we have a yard. They are able to park in a yard and driveway.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I'm interested to know what financial hardship she might incur should this not be approved, and what her plan is should funding for the residents cease to be available.
Yes, so I currently work, I have 2 jobs. I work with veterans and I work with people with mental disabilities. Far as hardship, I did spend a lot of money into the home because I already had it move in ready and stuff like that, but I just got held back. As far as the residents, it is independent living, so I will be providing everything for them.
So are they paying out of pocket, or is this funded?
No, I will be going through the state to get like funding, but it's an independent living, so I will be providing everything for the clients. As far as
And
like,
what if the state funding is eliminated? How are you going to support the house?
like I said, I'm the independent provider, so I'm being an independent provider away, so I will be providing everything for them. I would just be getting my clients through the state, but I wouldn't know anything further than that until I have to get approved for the house before I have reach out to the survey people and everything like that to know any more information.
Okay, Madam Chair, to Mr. Bay, could he tell us what the distance is to the existing group home?
Good morning. Yep. Give me one moment here. I can look up the exact distance. I will let you know they're within 1,000 feet of one existing facility on Glenborough Drive. As you can see on the map here, there are two other existing facilities within the neighborhood. But if you give me one moment, I can look up the exact distance.
I do have the paper that they gave me for the denial letter with the address of the house that they denied on the bottom, if you wanted to see that.
Okay. Let me see.
Kind of towards the end of the passage at the bottom.
Excuse me, will I get a chance to speak?
Absolutely. I'm coming to you in just a moment. Hang tight for me.
Thank you.
But I also went online myself and typed in my address to the other address, and it gave me a little bit over 1,000 square feet.
Okay.
Yes. If you wanted to see that as well, I have that right here.
All right. Excuse me. This is Xavier Bay again. The currently existing facility on Glenborough. Let's see here. Actually, this is on East 110th Street. The address we have is 3706 East 110th Street. They're about 500 feet away from parcel line to parcel line.
Okay. And that is one, and you said there's two others, so we have a total of three within 1,000 feet?
There's one within 1,000 feet and two others there are three others within close proximity of the neighborhood.
Okay. So four then.
So they're currently within 1,000 feet of one existing facility.
Okay.
All right. Does that conclude your questions, Ms. Faith?
It does. Thank you.
All right.
Madam
Very
Chair,
good.
I'm sorry, I do just have a quick question,
Please.
if I could. Can you speak just to the experience within this neighborhood? Is this an area that you are familiar with in
Yes.
terms of the conditions of the community or needs as well?
Yes, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. My child's father from over that area. So yeah, I've been in that area a long time, pretty long. I'm familiar with the area. That's my friend property, so like it's been there for a while. So yeah, I'm kind of familiar with the area, yes.
Thank you.
All right. I will now turn to Ms. Foster to give comment. Before we do that, we do have to swear you in. I'll allow Mr. Madison to do so.
Ms. Foster, at this time, I'm going to read a couple of words, and at the end, can you please state your name, spell your name, and reply with "I do." At this time, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Please state your name, spell your name, and reply if I do for a court reporter.
Patricia Foster, PATRICIA FOSTER, yes, I do.
Thank you.
There's
Turn it back to
others,
you.
there's others online to be all swearing at the same time.
Yes, you can please raise your hand as well and just state your name, spell your name, and reply if I do.
Karen Robinson, KREN ROBINSON, I do.
Is there anyone else on the call that would like to speak to this matter? Going once, going twice. All right, we'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you.
Hi.
So please raise your right hand, state your name, spell your name, and reply if I do, that you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth.
Hi, Lorenzo Robinson, LORENZO ROBINSON, and yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? All right, we'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
All right. So we'll go through and have everyone give comment. We'll start with you first, Ms. Patricia Foster. You want to go right ahead?
Hi, excuse me. Good morning, everyone. Yes, my house is right in back of the house that she wants to open up as a group home. She came down the street, but she did not reach every neighbor because I talked to all the neighbors and they didn't even know what was going on. I showed them the flyer. They say they never received it or anything. My question is, I was just concerned because I'm right in back of it. I don't know if these people are convicts or what? Because
Um,
the flyer was very vague and everything. We have a lot of elderly people that stay on the street by themselves. And I'm just concerned for our safety, our kids walking, playing up and down the street. So that's my big concern.
Okay. Can you speak to the population that you'll serve and whether they will be formerly incarcerated individuals?
Good morning. How are you? No, they will not be incarcerated. I did speak to one also that was on the back of my house, and they asked me the same thing. No, I will not be having no one with no convictions or anything like that.
Okay.
And they are allowed to have, well, I'm not sure, but a lot of people are allowed to have a long time, but they will be having staff 24 hours. So they will always be with someone as well. Like no one will be just roaming the streets or just walking alone. I will always have a staff with the residents.
Okay. Does that conclude your questions and your comments, Ms. Foster?
My other question is why in our area that you want to open this group home? Why don't you want to open it where you stay?
I currently live all the way in Streetsboro, but I am relocating back on this side of town. And someone actually was living near the home, so I was able to do the project for us the group home. So that's why the house was provided to me.
All right. Ms. Foster, anything else before I move to the next speaker?
No, I'm good.
All right. Thank you. The next person who swore in was Karen Robinson. Ms. Robinson, do you want to give your comment?
I do. Good morning, everyone. I live on 106th Street. And some of my concerns have been already addressed, but mainly I am concerned for safety. My elderly parents live on 106, not far from that residence. And so that's my main concern. I'm also concerned that this is the first time, this is your first time opening a group home. It seems like there's a lot of open items that you need to solidify. From what I'm hearing, doesn't sound very much like a great plan that's been put in place. I think because with some of the questions that's being asked, it sounds like you're still kind of figuring out your way with this whole thing. So by living in Streetsboro, and it's going to be, I think you said 4 to 5 people in the home. And how many staff members will you have? And is it a one-on-one person? Because there can't be people. I mean, I don't know how you're going to manage 4 people with, and I don't know how many staff people. So I would want to know how many staff people you're going to have in the house, and will they be there 24/7? And secondarily, I would want to know what is your plan if something goes astray and you need to seek out police activity or someone to help you with something that go on.
Okay, so just for the record, the appellant has submitted a very detailed plan that's probably about 5 pages that describes what would happen in the event of catastrophe. So we do have that on the record, but can you please speak to the questions that have been raised here?
Yes, I do have a great plan in place. I've actually been working in this field for 7 years, so I'm very familiar with how group homes is ran with different people, different settings. I didn't deal with high behavior, low behavior, so I'm well aware. In the home, it is on the first level and second level. I have fire extinguishers, fire alarms. I do have evacuation plans throughout the home, and I do have 911 boards and stuff all throughout the home, just in case of an emergency. It would be me and 2 other staff members as well.
I'm sorry, how many? How many
It would
did you
be
say?
myself and 2 other staff members as well, and it will be 24-hour care. It will be cameras in and outside the home. It's not going to be 45 people. It's only going to be 4 people in the home.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where she got 45 from.
All right, so we also have on the list Mr. Lorenzo Robinson. Do you want to give your comment at this time?
Yes, hi. Good morning, everyone. Yes, my concern was that I know she stated that she had reached out to quite a few of the neighbors, but if my sister wouldn't, I live 3 doors down from Patricia Foster, and if she wouldn't have told me about this, I would have known anything about it. I didn't even know there was a group home in the process of opening up. So some of the other neighbors, I've talked to another neighbor, and she was unaware of anything as well either. She never received a flyer. So they're kind of concerned about having this type of home in the neighborhood because, we didn't know what type of clients would be there, you know, and those are, like my sister stated earlier, there's several, elderly people that live on this block, and most of them are women. And so I know they're kind of concerned about safety and that sort of thing. And I was just wondering what are the credential of the staff that she's going to have, and is it those are kind of like my main concerns.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Robinson. So can you speak to number one, the concerns about safety that the neighbors are very clearly expressing, and then also speak to the second question that he had around the credentials of the staff?
Credentials of the staff, we all have to be certified in first aid and CPR, which I have already, and my staff do as well. We also have to be trained in mental health. We also have to be trained in like the rights and regulations of our client, medication administration, personal care, and nutrition. As far as the safety, again, I am going to have staff members there 24 hours, including myself will be in rotation. I am going to have cameras inside and outside the facility, and no client will be left alone. And I understand the safety in this field, so I get it. I understand. Yes.
Okay, I know that we have correspondence from the councilman. Can we address that, please?
Sure. This is from Kevin L. Bishop. He states that he's writing to express his opposition to the variance application for the property located at 3670 East 108th Street. The owner proposes to change the use from single-family dwelling to residential facility for 5 people. The owner is appealing for relief from strict application of that section. The section that states that a residential facility for 5 persons is not permitted within 1,000 feet of another residential facility unless approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. The proposed facility at 3670 East 108th Street is indeed within 1,000 feet of another existing facility. As a councilman for Ward 2, a primary reason for opposing this variance is the surrounding residents have directly expressed their strong desire that this variance not be approved. I respectfully urge the Board of Zoning Appeals to carefully consider clear concerns of the community when evaluating the current application. Thank you for your time and assistance. This is an important matter. Kevin L. Bishop, Ward 2, Councilman. Thank you.
All right, does that conclude correspondence that we have for this matter?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Any other questions from the board before I entertain a motion?
Yeah, just Madam Chair, is there a site plan for the facility? Can you please pull that up? Can you discuss just the layout in terms of how you would position the rooms for your clients?
Yes, so when you come through the front door entrance, it's the living room. And then right off the living room, it's big open space. So it's the dining room right coming in from the living room. And then it's the first bedroom right there. So it would just be one person in that bedroom. And then if you come past coming into the kitchen, it's a door and it goes up the stairs. And then it's a big open layout. And then it's 2 bedrooms up there, and one bedroom has 1 bed, and then the big open room has 2 beds in it. So I can, due to my teacher with me, I am able to have 2 people in 1 room. But it's big enough to have 2 people in 1 room. So one person would be in one downstairs, another would be upstairs in bedroom 2, and then that bedroom 3, it would be 2 people in there. So I will only have 4 people in the home.
And through you, Madam Chair, are you planning to go through the Ohio Department of Health and Addiction Services to seek licensing?
Well, how I was going to go about getting my people was, I can't even think of the dang name right now. I'm having a brain. Morris Taylor and I can't think of the other group home that I was going to look to seek my residents and those
I'm
two.
sorry, not for your residents, but for licensing. In order to provide certain services, do you plan to go through the developmental disabilities or the
Yes,
Ohio Department of Mental Health?
yes.
Thank you. Those are all my questions, Madam Chair.
All right, any other questions?
Madam Chair, could we just confirm with Ms. Leonard or Mr. Bay if a variance is needed if they're only requesting 4 members or residents? Thank you.
Sure. Chief Leonard, are you here? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, good morning, Madam Chair. Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator. So normally in a 2-family district, you are permitted a small residential facility, which is up to 1 to 5 residents. That's state license group, level 2 group home, through the state of Ohio, except you cannot be within 1,000 feet of another, residential facility that's already licensed and existing. And I believe this one was within 1,000 feet of at least one other. And so they do need the, variance for that.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, given the testimony we've heard today and the fact that this proposed group home is within at least 1,000 feet of another group home and that there are 3 others within the vicinity, I move to deny calendar number 25-103.
All right, is there a second?
This will be Board Member Madison. I'll second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-103 is denied. This decision will be ratified next Monday. We will send the appellant a letter. Thank you.
All right, that concludes your matter. All the best to you.
Even if I had like printed out this with, like, I'm showing the address from my current address to the other address, it's over 1,000 square feet.
So they use GIS points. It's not the streets. And Xavier, if you can explain how that's measured.
Yep. So we populate a map that you can see on screen here with the addresses from the Ohio's Department of Mental Health and Disabilities. And so we basically measure out 1,000-foot buffer around each existing facility we get from the state license listing. And then the measurements based off of your property line. So we measure, you can see the buffers listed here, and then we'll take a measurement from the property line of your proposed facility to the property line of the existing facility to get the determination if variances are required.
Okay, so basically the point is it's calculated a little bit differently from what you have there. So the decision has been made. We're going to move to the next calendar item and we wish you all the best.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too. All right, we're going to call now calendar number 25-090. This is at 1347 West 69th. Do we have an appellant on behalf of Zach's LLC present?
On, we're representing.
Okay, all right, if you're here for this matter, please come forward. And while you do that, we'll have Ms. Holzer read in the case.
Are we bundling 1347 and 1350 West 69th? Are there different LLCs?
We would like that bundled. We're acquiring both of the properties.
And it's the same owners, but they're just different names.
Same, yes.
Okay. Are these are adjacent properties then, I take
Across
it?
the street.
Oh, across the street. Okay. It looks like very different variances. Let's bundle them and hopefully we won't get too confused. If we do, I'll separate them out. Okay, all right, perfect. Let's bundle them for now.
So our next 2 cases include calendar number 25-090 at 1347 West 69th Street. Zach's LLC owner proposes to establish use as a parking lot for a professional consulting firm and costume design studio. Across the street at 1350 West 69th Street. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 8. Additionally, we have calendar number 25-091 at 1350 West 69th Street. Lorax LLC owner proposes to establish use as business offices for a professional consulting firm and a costume design studio. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is only one for the second case. And with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Madison for the oath.
Thank you. For all those that will be speaking on this matter, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? This also applies for those who are online that would like to speak on this case. We'll start here with you. Please raise your right hand, state your name, spell your name, and reply if I do.
Michael.
Yeah, sorry, got to turn your mic on there.
Magdalena Young, Magdalina, Young, Young. I do.
Thank you.
Andrew Waters.
Second, give us an address, please.
Oh, 15614 Detroit Avenue, Lakewood, Ohio.
Thank you.
Andrew Watterson, AndrewWatterson. I do. My address is 10407 Edgewater Drive in Cleveland, Ohio.
Nate Law, Cleveland City Planning, 601 Lakeside Avenue. I do.
We'll head in the back. If you would like, you can use this mic here. Would you like to speak on this case?
All right.
Yes.
All right, we'll have you come forward to the table so that you can be close to a microphone and your sound can be captured. You can just feel free to roll your chair right on up.
You can take that mic.
This one, either one is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Alberta Plocica, Plocica.
I'm sorry, that was a little fast. Spell that again for us.
Sorry. Plocica.
Okay.
And,
Just reply if I do.
sorry,
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? You stated your name, state your address, and then please reply if I do.
well, the address that I reside at is 24740 Meadow Lane, Westlake, Ohio. And the residence in question is adjacent to this residence. That is my property as well. 1357 West 69th Street, Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you.
And I do.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And then we'll move online.
You intend to speak, sir?
Yes, that's right.
So you don't intend to give comment? If you do, we're going to swear you in.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Yeah,
come on
come on
forward.
up.
Join the party.
So yes, same, just state your name, spell your name, and reply if I do, as well as the address.
Edward Hazel, EDWARD, HAZEL. Address is 3386 Arbor Way, Westlake, Ohio. And I do.
Thank you. We'll move online. I believe, is it Sarah? If you can please do the same. Please raise your right hand, state your name, spell your name, address for the record, and reply if I do.
Sarah Davis, SARAHDAVIS. I do.
And your address, please.
1364 West 69th.
Thank you. We'll head over to John.
John Zayak, Z as in zebra, AYAC. Address is 1900-1900 Grove Court. That's Grove as in Orange Grove, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113. I do.
Thank you. Then we'll head over to, is it Michael?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Thank you. I'm just counsel for Alberta Plocica, and we'll have some comments to supplement whatever she states.
All right,
vote-
can you
and I
state your-
and I do.
Can you state your name for the record, counsel?
Sure. It's first name Michael, last name O'Shea, OSHEA.
All right, thank you for that.
And then Lou, I see your hand is raised. You're on mute. You're still on mute. There you go.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
hear
We can
you.
hear you now.
All right, my first name is Lou. Last name is Biasota, Biasiota.
Can you
I-
please state your
Go ahead.
address and state your address followed by a
8190.
do.
Sure, 8193 Avery Road, Broadview Heights, Ohio, and I'm the Placica's realtor. And I do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online that would like to speak to this matter?
Yeah, my name's James Lipset, James, last name Lipset, L as in Larry, I as in Indiana, P as in Paul, S as in Sam, E as in Edward, T as in Tom, T as in Tom. I reside at 1364 West 69th Street, and I do.
Thank you. Anyone else? With that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, let's go to history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These two properties were originally zoned general industry in 1929. In 1978, it was changed to the current zoning. I'll start with 1347. This is the proposed parking lot. We did not find a bunch of information on this, only that sorry, let me go to the very first part. That in 1927, there was a permit issued for a one-story storage addition. And then jumping forward to the next things we see in our system are 2012, there was rental registration for 2 units on the address. Again, in 2015, rental registration for 2 units, and as well as 2017. And then we jump ahead to the current application for the parking lot. So I did not find when the structure was removed on the property. And
Can you
then
define general industry?
Whoops, hold on one second. Please do not interrupt the meeting. You only speak when you're addressed to be called on. I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Secretary.
And then, Madam Chair, for the address of 1350, we see that a church was identified as being the use of the property in 1967. A permit was issued to convert dance hall to church assembly. 1970, a permit was issued to repair fire damage to the church. Let's see what else we have. And Madam Chair, there are no variances on file for those 2 properties, and that's all that I have at this
All
time.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have legal, please?
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, both properties are requesting a use variance from the requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. And then with regard to calendar number 25090, which is the parking lot, section 349.13 states that the Board of Zoning Appeals may permit temporarily or permanently the use of land in a residence district. Sorry, wait, I just had an email come in. Other than a limited one-family district for a parking lot when the best interests of the community will be served, and provided that there's a list of items that must be met. Do you want me to read those or just?
I think not, unless you prefer to.
Okay.
You're done? All right,
Yeah.
very good. So we will now turn to the speakers. We've got quite a few folks here. Who is going to speak on behalf of the appellant?
I will. Yeah,
Okay, state your name for the record and go right ahead.
sure. Andrew Watterson. Do I need to spell my name again?
No, no, no.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. So my husband and I have entered into contract to purchase both of these properties to locate our businesses there, as it mentioned in the And the appeal that I have a small consulting firm, and I do sustainability consulting, and my husband has a costume design company. A little bit background about myself. I grew up in Cleveland, Cleveland neighborhood, Cleveland area. I've lived in Detroit Shoreway for 10 years. Now I live in Edgewater Park neighborhood. I interned with Detroit Shoreway back in 1998 and had been involved in the redevelopment of this area for a really long time. I was on the board of the Gordon Square Arts District. I continue to be on the board of Cleveland Public Theater. And yeah, I lived on West 67th Street in those townhouses that are there for 10 years. So I really care about the neighborhood, and we have been looking for a commercial space to locate our businesses now for 3 years. It's been challenging. We don't need a retail space. We don't have people coming to visit us other than clients on occasion. And so it's just been a challenge for us. But came across these properties. I did learn from John Zayak, we're purchasing the property from, representing the two LLCs that currently own the property, that this church actually was acquired as part. He acquired it back, I think, in 2009, when CPT was trying to renovate the church that they own on their property. It was owned by the same congregation. And so the church on SCPT, which, as you know, is now being, will be redeveloped as part of their capital campaign. This has essentially laid vacant since, and being able to kind of bring this place back to life. It serves our business as well. It's a pretty wide open space, and so it serves what our purposes are well. However, it is landlocked, so it has no driveway. It has no ability to even conduct any kind of business across. As you know, or as you may know, West 69th Street is pretty narrow and paramount. So the parking lot, our proposed parking lot, is simply for our employee use. We have 7. Including us, we have 7 full-time people working with us. So I guess that's it's kind of a background about this. What our businesses do, is I do sustainability consulting. I was the first chief of sustainability for the city of Cleveland. Worked in the Campbell administration and Jackson's administration. And so that's what I do for a living. And I have 4 employees, and then my husband has 3, including himself. And his company does costume design strictly for high school show choirs across the country. So they design and procure costumes. There's no manufacturing or sewing or anything like that on site.
You said for high school
show choir.
Show choir.
Okay. I don't know if you remember the show Glee, but
No.
yeah. So it's like singing and dancing with high school kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does that conclude your comment?
Yes, and then I think
Yeah.
Maggie is our architect, and
Yep.
she can speak to
I
kind of
can
the
just
site
kind of
plan.
speak to the site plan. So on the actual church site, minimal changes. We're just kind of improving the access down into the basement level with a ramp and kind of more greening up of the front space as well. There'll be some exterior changes to the front of the building as well, but nothing that requires variances. And then for the parking structure, we obviously received the guidelines for the parking, and so we've sought to fulfill all those requirements as much as possible. We have proposed 4-foot buffer, landscape buffer on all sides, and we have held the parking back from this front as much as possible in order to kind of soften that edge to the street as well.
Okay. You mentioned that the property was landlocked. Can you describe what is behind the property? Is there not another street or
There-
access there? Or?
Behind the property is is Lady Mount Carmel, the church, and there is a big parking lot there behind the property. We looked at that as a possibility. The problem is that that area they use as a playground during the day, and so I don't think it's likely that we'd be able to get adjacent parking with Our Lady Mount Carmel. We also though we won't have dumpsters or anything out, we do have a lot of cardboard, and so being able to locate something like, just for a day or whatever, to have a dumpster to put our cardboard in, being able to have the land is helpful. I did want to note that John John Rocco, who owns the property north of the proposed parking lot. We'd had a conversation with them last week, and they had requested that we put up a fence along that property line, and so we did agree to do that as well.
So that's not reflected in the.
It's
current
not reflected in the
submit-
site
submittal,
plans, but
but
I mentioned it.
we are amenable to
Yeah.
providing.
And
privacy
you have
fence.
an updated site plan that would reflect that?
We don't, again, I spoke to city staff and they kind of advised to just kind of talk through it at the meeting.
Okay.
But that would be something, so we could do a 6-foot privacy fence along the north side of the property.
Okay. All right. And just so that we're clear about ownership here, there's two LLCs involved, Zach's LLC and there's Lorax LLC. Do you own both of those LLCs?
No, we own 3204 Clinton LLC, which is the purchasing entity. We did file paperwork to represent them. However, John Zayak is owner of those entities.
Perfect. All right, Mr. Zayak, do you want to give comment at this time?
No, other than to say that we've had this property for 15 years, and this seems like a perfect reuse or adaptive reuse of the property.
Okay, can you describe the unnecessary hardship that the property, you as a property owner will face if these variances are not granted?
Well, item number one, I think everybody on this street experiences a hardship because the street is so narrow. And as a result, essentially having no parking available requires use that we anticipated. Well, Andrew anticipates. So that's, I guess, item number one. Item number two, let me see, that is, I don't have that in front of me. What was item number two? Do you recall?
When you say item number two, what are you referring to, the variances, or are you referring to the legal standard?
The building standard 329.0B 2. I have it here. If you just and Andrew might be able to answer this a little bit better than me. Let me move on to 3.
Yeah, my question is more simple than that. I don't want to complicate it. I just wanted to hear from you what the hardship would be if you did not get these variances granted.
Okay, the hardship would be it's very difficult to use the church property without some parking, and we're not. I think it's maybe a misnomer to call it a parking lot, but there's no other use that we could, extant. We're talking about a house that was on that property years ago. We bought that property in 2010 at the request of Detroit Shoreway. We then tore down the property, but it was a dilapidated, ramshackle property that had gone into, I think it had gone into foreclosure. Detroit Shoreway owned the property, and then we bought it, tore it down, and there would have been 3 to 4 or 5 parking spaces being used there anyways. There's a long driveway, but that was 15 years ago, and it sat there fallow for that long a period of time.
Okay, understood. Thank you for that comment. Can we put the legal standard back on the screen, please? I just want to run through section 349.13. Regarding the parking lot, there are 8 requirements that you must prove in order to have this variance granted. So I just kind of want to talk through those. The first one is that the parking lot is only going to be used for passenger automobiles of employees, customers, or guests. Can you affirm or deny?
I can affirm that.
Okay. The second one is that there will be no charges for use of the parking lot. Can you affirm or deny that?
Confirm.
Okay. The third one is that the lot will not be used for sales, repair work, or service of any kind.
Affirm.
Okay. The fourth one is that entrance to and exit from the lot are to be located so as to do the least harm to the residential district. Can you describe the ingress and egress of the parking lot?
An existing kind of wide curb cut that we are proposing to maintain, and then the actual kind of drive aisle has been held to a minimum width so that it's kind of,
More
reduced,
residential.
right, kind of a residential scale matching the rest of the neighborhood.
Okay, perfect. Now looking at point number 5, no advertising sign or material is to be located on the lot.
Affirm.
Okay. And number 6, all parking is to be kept back of the setback building line. Can
Affirm.
affirm that, okay. And then number 7, this one is kind of long, so bear with me. The parking lot and that portion of the driveway back of the building line are to be adequately screened from the street and from adjoining property in a residential district. Can you affirm you'll have the appropriate screening?
Affirm.
Okay. And then number 8, such other and further conditions to be imposed by the board, which we don't have any conditions at this time. So it sounds like we are in keeping with that legal standard. I just wanted to make sure of that. Did you have additional questions before I move on to another speaker?
I did want to speak to the hardship question.
Please.
So in our purchase agreement, it's a condition that we get these variances to purchase the property from Mr. Zayak. So in essence, we need the variances in order for us to proceed with the project to renovate the church. And if we don't get the variance, then we will have to try to find another location for our businesses. So
Okay. And speak to that a little bit further in terms of the hardship. I mean, have you invested a significant amount of money and so forth?
yes, well, earnest money obviously for the purchase of the property, as well as all the architectural drawings that you see before you. And then, we entered it in this agreement in March. So that timeline. So our challenge now is simply our lease in our current place is up next April, and so we are running out of time.
Okay, all right, hardship understood. So we've got several more people on the list who are interested in speaking. So I will now turn to Andrew Watterson.
That's me.
That is you. I clearly have that in my notes, so disregard that I just said that. What about Alberta? Do you want to give comment?
I'm right here.
Oh, look, I'm looking on the screen for you. All right, please.
Yes. My sisters and I inherited the property adjacent to where they want to put parking lot. It was my parents' property. My dad passed a year ago. We have owned that property for 65 plus years. I also am very indoctrinated into that neighborhood. I grew up there. Very strong ties to the church on several committees of the church as well. There's 3 of us that inherited that property, myself and my 2 sisters. My one sister lives 1 street over on West 70th Street. And this is the husband of my younger sister. We are presently trying to sell the property and to have a parking lot next to a residence. We fear that it would be much more difficult to sell that property because not many people want a parking lot right next door to them. This was tried years ago, or there was talks of it when my parents were living there. And at that time, it was denied that it become a parking lot. So I feel very strongly that we will have an issue selling that property if it's adjacent to a parking lot.
Okay, understood. All right. Do you want to give comment too? Say your name before you begin, please.
Yeah, Ed Hazel. What Bert was saying that years ago, it didn't come to the board. It was between the councilman, the owner, before they wanted to make a parking lot. It came down to is that her mom has asthma and stuff, and just the carbon monoxide from the cars being parked in that parking lot would have been a detriment to her health. But the biggest thing is, it's always been residential. That was a single family. We thought for sure somebody would buy it, build a new home on it. And like Bert said, we're concerned about, even though they're going to be taking care of it during the day, does that prove that kids are not going to be running back and forth in that parking lot or playing games in that parking lot? I don't know. I don't know how you patrol that, but that's the other concern that we have. So it's just, I looked at the drawings, the space looks beautiful, but it's the only parking lot on the whole street. And we know that it is a narrow street, but it was always zoned residential. And that's why we're looking to keep it that way.
Okay, understood. All right, Attorney O'Shea, I know that you're here on behalf of Alberta. Do you want to give comment at this time?
I do. Good morning, if it please the board. First of all, on July 3rd at around 3 o'clock, we emailed the board some photos that we were going to use in connection with our objection to the variance. I assume the board has them, and I'd like them to be made part of the record if we could. As those photos indicate, there is a significant, what I would call, density issue when it comes to this neighborhood. As I think it's already been pointed out, this church and the whole street are very, very tight. And the church and all the houses there are very close to one another. And I only point that out because if there was a much larger space or much larger setbacks in this particular neighborhood, I don't think you'd have the same concerns that my clients have right now. And again, our comments are to the parking lot only, not to the church. And I think the parking lot, for the record, is 090, and I think the church is 091. Again, we're not objecting to the conversion of the church building. I also note that it looks like that when it comes to the hardship, that there's only going to be 7 spaces. And I mean, if they had a business that they were going to operate that needed 20 employees, that's a different type of analysis than 7 employees. So the parking for employees won't be that incredibly difficult from an undue hardship standpoint, as opposed to a business that would have the need for 20 employees or so, for example. If we look at the 349.13 factors, I see for purposes of the record, in the application, there is a view 0.5. I mean, the actual application is not paginated, but if you go, it's the second to last page, and it looks like it's going. That is a picture of the intended adequately screen factor. And if you look at those hedges, I don't know, and I know it's just probably a computer generated type of optic, but it doesn't look like those shrubs meet the adequate screen factors that are set forth in your analysis that you have here. Essentially, that they're 4.5 to 6 feet high and no more than 5 feet high. And I don't know that just bushes alone will adequately screen headlights and taillights from glaring into the yard of the residents on either side. The other concern we have is we don't see anything in the application addressing the lighting glare factor that is set forth in the requirements there. And last but not one of the last things is the best interest of the community is the primary focus here. And we completely respect and appreciate the fact that they want to open this, what appears to be a relatively unique and exciting type of business. But the interests of the community there in that particular neighborhood are I believe, outweigh the individual business needs of an individual business owner. As indicated by my clients, one of the big concerns these folks have is not so much what happens during the day, but what happens at night. Parking lots are traditionally places where a lot of people congregate at night, be it skateboarders, people hanging out. It's like I said, there's a density issue here. Things are close by. So the concern would be that without adequate security screening, lighting, to protect the longtime residents of this area. As my folks indicated, their family has been in this particular neighborhood for 65 years. So quite a bit of long time, quite a bit of investment. And last but not least, if it matters to the board, in the interest of trying to address the objections to the appeal in good faith, we had our own Zoom meeting with the applicant and the applicant's agents last Thursday on the 3rd, about a couple hours before I sent that email to the board, where we tried to voice our concerns of what we're talking about. And I bring that to your attention, I bring that to the attention of the board, because I don't want anyone to believe that we're this is a surprise attack on the applicant. We tried to work out these issues with them and talk to them about it. And I know the holiday weekend made it a little difficult for everyone to continue to communicate, but I just want the board to be aware that my clients, in an attempt to reach some sort of understanding here and awareness between everyone, reached out, and we actually did have I think about an hour-long Zoom conference with everybody. And I think everyone's kind of currently entrenched in their respective positions, but we, as the objectors to the application, would not have any problem with the board adjourning or the applicant adjourning until they can further address and discuss with my clients and maybe some other potential adjacent property owners the concerns that we're making everyone aware of this morning. With that, I yield. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Attorney O'Shea. I will now turn to Sarah Davis. Do you want to go ahead and give your comment, please?
Yeah, good morning, all. We bought a house just about 3 down from this property a couple of years ago, and we found it to be such a special neighborhood. The neighbors are really close knit. Everyone's involved in the community. The church is really special. We just feel really grateful. And then on top of all of that, the lake is a 20-minute walk away. There's a 24-hour RTA bus stop right up the street. I ride the bus to work most days. It's just a really great location. There's a lot of really good amenities, and we also know that the prices are really rapidly increasing nearby for housing. And so this is a really important place to build housing or something that's not a parking lot. We want more neighbors. We want, people that enjoy this community with us. We don't really want another parking lot in our neighborhood. In Cleveland, there's plenty of locations where there's parking on site or there's lots of street parking. As the applicant pointed out, West 69th is a uniquely small street. But if you're choosing to purchase a property on the street, which we would love to have a business, we'd love to see the church renovated. It would be beautiful. But I think you're accepting some of the other things that come along with choosing to locate in a more dense neighborhood. So again, we'd be happy to have that church renovated, and that would be wonderful to have such a great business. But to have a parking lot where we could have neighbors or something else, it's just really disappointing. The city itself has adopted, or city council adopted, the TDM, TOD legislation in the last couple of years. So they know that this is a really important area where, many of my neighbors don't drive everywhere. They save a lot down the street. They walk up to the Dollar General, they walk to the coffee shops. And especially during the daytime, which is my understanding of when this business would be operating, but people who do drive to work, they leave and then there's space on the street. On top of that, I was disappointed to hear that you actually reached out to Mount Carmel about potential parking agreement. I know that their playground is right next to our house, so we see where they have recess, and it would be great at least to hear that you had talked to them about potential parking agreement. But also Detroit and Father Caruso often have tons of parking available if for some reason West 69th is full. So yeah, all that said, while the cost of living is increasing dramatically, the city itself has noted this is a really important place to prioritize for density and housing and walkable and bikeable and transit friendly development. I would love to have the business, and I don't want a parking lot where we could have something so much better than that.
All right. Yeah. I'm sorry. Were you going to add something else?
No, that's all. It's just a really special neighborhood, and I would be really disappointed to see this turned into a parking lot, regardless of what kind of screening or anything. It's just, it's not a neighbor. It's not eyes on the street. It's not someone who cares about the neighborhood in the same way. It's an empty parking lot that holds people's private property.
Okay, understood. All right, Lou, you're up next.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm also been in that neighborhood for a number of years too. My parents lived like 2 houses up from there. I had lived there. I currently own a couple rental properties in the area, and I kind of feel for. I do have mixed feelings here because I do want to see something happen to that church. It's been sitting idle for a number of years. I'm not sure what John's intention was at the time, but I have no doubt that Andrew and his partner would make excellent neighbors on that end. However, I would have to kind of line my views with the residents there. I wouldn't want to see a parking lot there. I mean, always I've been in real estate for a number of years, and one thing that they always taught us was that, you have to look at a property for its highest and best use. And I don't think that the parking lot would be the best use for that area. I would like to think that possibly there might be a possibility of maybe if they would remove the fence and maybe survey that area, perhaps they can get 2-3 parking or a potential driveway where they're at there at the church. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll now turn to James.
Hello, folks. Thank you so much for having me. And sorry I interrupted earlier in the meeting. This is a new thing for me, so I appreciate your patience with that. Just to be clear, I live a couple doors down. I'm against the proposed parking lot. Although I hope they move forward with the business. I'd love to see a successful business in that church. However, I think we could all think about how to be more creative rather than just installing a parking lot to accommodate the vehicles for the folks who would be at that place of business. Um, there is plenty of parking in this neighborhood. You need to take some time to come through the neighborhood during the day when on normal business hours when folks go about their days. Uh, there's plenty of parking on West 69th in that area. And if you go further down the street, I actually can't remember if Herman is okay to park on. I believe it is, but regardless, Father Caruso basically has zero parking. Sorry, 0 cars parking on it, other than some like landscaping equipment. Every now and then, I go for lots of walks throughout my neighborhood because I love my neighborhood and I want to see the best for the neighborhood. There's also a municipal lot right over on 67th Street, which is probably less than 5-minute walk away from the proposed business. Detroit has plenty of parking throughout the days. The only time you run into parking issues is probably starting at Thursday around 4 or 5 p.m. When people start to enjoy Gordon Square. So I think some time needs to be spent in the neighborhood during the day hours to provide some more confidence into how much parking is actually available here. But I think we could be a little more creative with the utility of that land. Like a house, for example, as Sarah Davis pointed out. If you take a quick Google search about housing crises in the United States, you'll get plenty of articles about how housing is very, very expensive and more housing is the solution to that issue, which I'm in agreement with. So there's that. Like I said earlier, I go through lots of walks in my neighborhood and try to talk to my neighbors about, their day to day and mainly the history of the neighborhood. I find it really fascinating and to see how, people who settled here in the 50s are still here and they love their neighborhood and they want their neighborhood to be successful. So as of recently, I'd say the last 2 weeks, I'd bring it up in conversation, just casually. Hey, what do you think about the parking lot being proposed there? Most folks surprisingly answered, well, I guess it's not surprising, but they responded with a matter of fact response of how, oh no, they're not building a parking lot there. We've already fought that. So that was interesting to get a lot of their opinions on the parking lot. Again, I'm new to this, so I didn't think to get signatures or anything along those lines. And I'm not mentioning any names because I didn't get their permission. But I did want to get some folks' perspective. This particular person I'm referencing settled in the neighborhood in 1957. Again, I'd love to see the business. I think it would be awesome to add to the neighborhood. It sounds like it would fit right in. So please don't take this as me being against that. I wanted to touch on some points I heard about the street being narrow. I didn't understand how that would affect parking. I actually see the street being narrow as a positive because it keeps cars from driving so fast down a road in a residential neighborhood. I find it to be a massive benefit for our neighborhood. So something to consider when thinking about the narrow street for us folks who actually live here. And something else, I wanted to educate myself on this while you guys were talking. And just from a sustainability standpoint, I noticed on the Cleveland planning website, there's a comment, and I know this, we're not downtown, but it says downtown surface parking lot prohibition prohibits new surface parking lots in the core of downtown to preserve downtown's urban architectural character per chapter 349.14. And what that, again, it's on the sustainability website. And that was the first thought when sustainability came up is I don't think of a parking lot when I think of sustainability. I think of more housing. I think of green space. I don't think of cars. So just something to consider when considering this plan for the parking lot. I think that's all I got. Again, actually, I did some calculations because unfortunately I'm a nerd and I like to put numbers to things. I just ran a quick back of the envelope calculation about the hours used for a parking lot, assuming 40 hours per week, because I heard it was going to be full-time usage. That comes to about 20% usage, which would just be a bummer. I'm sure there's other reasons why, cars, like Louis pointed out about actually I don't know who it was, sorry. I don't think it was Louis, but cars pulling in and out, shining lights. I agree that's an issue, but you know what, just from a utility standpoint, it just seems like a simple 80-20 analysis, using 20% of your time for a piece of asphalt to hold some cars and a dumpster every now and then just doesn't seem like the best thing for the neighborhood. So thank you for your time. Please ask any questions, I'm happy to discuss. And that's it.
All right, thank you. And last but not least, we'll turn to you, Mr. Lull, to give your comment.
Good morning, board members. Nate Law with Cleveland City Planning. With regards to calendar 25-91, I think there is a hardship with regards to not allowing the business to establish itself. As we've heard testimony, this has been a vacant property for about 15 or so years. We have a lot of vacant churches around Cleveland that are really challenging adaptive reuse projects. And they don't exactly always lend themselves to be residential use. So we are supportive of granting the variance for the business to establish itself as a consulting firm and design studio. With regards to the parking lot variances, it sounds like they do meet the requirements to be able to be granted this variance. However, as we've heard testimony today, this is a neighborhood that's seen a lot of new housing in the past 15 or so years. We think that there's a higher and better use for the site, mainly being residential. And so with that, we would recommend denial due to the fact that there would almost certainly be housing built on this site if the seller was open to selling it to somebody, because there is a lot of demand in this neighborhood for new housing. So thank you.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we've given everyone an opportunity to speak, and it seems to me that this will be a good time to bifurcate these cases. I know that we combined them at the outset. So the first thing we should do is take up the business use in a residential district and go to a vote as far as that goes. Do you have correspondence? I'm sorry. Please go right ahead.
This is from Councilwoman Spencer. She apologizes for sending the email late. She would like to express her support for the calendar items. I've known business owners Andrew and Randy Watterson for many years. Randy and Andrew have long sought a home in Ward 15 for their growing business. This proposal will renovate a long vacant historic church at 1350 West 69th Street. This church has sat empty, deteriorating for many years, and she's thrilled to see the investment. The two businesses that will be inside the church are a costume design company for a high school show choirs and consulting firm. The proposed small parking lot on 1347 West 69th Street is to accommodate employee parking. The owners have a total of 7 employees and will only have client visitors by appointment. There's no retail presence for the business. I recognize that in Ward 15, there's a need for infill housing. However, one reason the church has remained undeveloped is due to lack of access to off-street parking. In addition, the proposed parking lot at 1347 West 69th would not preclude the future construction of an infill home should the owners sell the properties in the future. She's in full support of the 2 variances. Jenny Spencer, Ward 15. Thank you.
Okay. Any other correspondence?
I received a letter from from Sarah Davis, but she was present to express it.
Okay, understood. All right, so we have our correspondence. So now I will take up the first variance, and this is going to be calendar number 25-091 at 1350 West 69th to allow a professional business office in a residential district. Let's go to a vote on that particular case. Before we do, any questions from the board on this particular variance? All right, hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of calendar number 25-091.
All right, is there a second?
Board Member Madison, second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-091 is granted. They'll be ratified next Monday. We will send the appellant a letter. He can contact our office next Wednesday for further instruction.
All right, now we've gotten the easy part out of the way. Let's go right ahead and move now to calendar number 25-090. Before we go to a vote, I do want to give you an opportunity to respond to a lot of the comments that have been made. So there are concerns regarding carbon monoxide in the parking lot being an issue for adjacent properties. There's concerns with the headlights providing, just sort of a nuisance to the neighbors and whether the screening that you have proposed is sufficient. Let's start there. Can you speak to those?
Sure. Let me get closer. With respect to the screening, as we have with the property to the north, we'd be amenable to providing additional screening or fencing to the south and also to the back of the property. We wouldn't want screening or fencing because I don't think it's allowed on the street side. With respect to carbon monoxide, I'm not as concerned about that. We won't have people like idling in the parking lot or on a break or something like that. A couple of us have hybrids. I have an electric car, so we will make sure that we make sure employees don't like sit out in the car and and run their engines for their brakes or whatever. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I have one other thing just kind of throw into the thought process too, is I think a lot of the struggle here is that it's a property across the street. And so it's being read as being very kind of separate and a random infill parking lot. And someone even brought up, it seems like possibly you could drive along the side of the building, which really there's not space within the property line. The church is too close. But if this property were adjacent to the church next to it, would it be as much of a concern to be a parking lot? And I think maybe it would not be as much of a concern. And realistically, it is kind of still the same. I mean, I understand you would then only have one neighboring property, but still, I think just thinking about that as it wouldn't be out of normal to have a small parking lot associated with this church. This church just doesn't have one currently. So we're trying to just establish it where it's possible, and this lot is already vacant, so it seemed like the most logical place to do so.
Okay, and I think that kind of segues into the next point that was made from a lot of our commenters is that a parking lot is not the highest and best use for this particular parcel. I'm sure that you all have studied the market and sort of went through an analysis for this property. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I would go for is that we really do need free parking for our employees and our guests. We also need space. Like, we just need the space. During some parts of the year, show choir is very cyclical because you do the design and then you produce the products. So we do have UPS trucks that will show up. Well, obviously UPS, but comes once a day. And that was why we wanted to, because of the narrowness of the street, addressing the narrow street question. And that's also why we made a larger apron so that we can get if there isn't space right in front of the building, that we get the truck out of the right of way. So for any vehicles passing through. I mean, obviously UPS doesn't stay there all day, but loading and unloading a UPS truck was a concern for that. And so having that space to be able to get vehicles out of the right of way of the street was needed, and we can't do it on the church side. There's just not enough room. I recognize that, I was the former chief of sustainability of the city of Cleveland. I recognize all the priorities of the city and around density and around urban infill, and understand that it's challenging to take this position. But in order for us to utilize this church in the way that we want to utilize it, we really do need that space. With that, just sort of other aspects on the sustainability side of things, we are proposing permeable pavers for the lot itself. So we won't be adding to stormwater management issues. There was a question about lighting and glaring. We aren't proposing any lighting in the parking lot. If residents want lighting, or if there's an issue, we certainly can provide that. But currently, as proposed, we're not outlining lighting on the parking lot.
So I think the issue with lighting was from the headlights of the cars shining into the properties of the residents nearby.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that?
That was with respect to providing the fencing. So if we need to provide fencing, we can provide fencing on. We already are on the north side, but on the east side and south side.
And to speak to the kind of the rendered image, I'm not sure if it made it into the presentation you cited, but so this is just a graphic representation. So the shrubbery would be per city standards of density, but yes, we're fine with doing fencing.
And they grow.
Right.
Understood. Okay. And then I think the final comment that I will give you an opportunity to rebut is, you could just park on the street. There's plenty of parking around. You don't need to have a parking lot. What's your response to that?
Sure. I'm actually going to speak to it both from a current state as well as a historical standard. Or as I mentioned, I lived in the townhouses on West 67th Street. At that time, Councilman Zone actually required the developer to build a parking lot adjacent to the townhouses precisely because of the challenge of parking on the street. And I was president of the board of that homeowners association. So I'm very familiar with sort of the concerns about the, after hours use of the parking or other adjacent uses of the parking. But in the 10 years that I lived there, I had very few issues with that. And, quite frankly, I don't have an issue with kids playing but we had very little issues with that. I think maybe once a year we'd have someone park a car there and you'd have to put a note on there or call a towing company at some point. With respect to parking, that there's parking everywhere, I am familiar with the daytime use of it, and there is more parking on the street during the daytime than at nighttime. But there isn't always parking available. And parking on Detroit is not free, and parking in that parking lot on between West 67th and 65th Street is now going to be not free. So all the all the city maintained lots in the neighborhood are all moving over to being paid parking. So there will be only the residential street parking available for us other than paid street parking on Detroit and paid street parking on 67th Street.
All right. You want to chime in? Please go right ahead.
I forgot to mention one thing in my comments. Andrew and I actually had a meeting about a week ago and talked about other options for the parking lot specifically. And the thought was brought up to at least have a conversation with the church that is adjacent. And I think that would still be important to have before maybe deciding on this case today, because there is an existing condition. I don't think we can pull it up right now, but there's an existing condition with another business on the street, I believe called Esperanza Threads. They might be a nonprofit, where they have a gate that actually enters from that rear parking lot onto their property. So they're adjacent to this property in the same way that Andrew's property would be, and they have a gate that allows them access from the parking lot. And so I think we'd like to know that that isn't feasible to do in the same situation before, you know, the variances would maybe be granted. For I think that'd be kind of like a last ditch effort to find another alternative for parking here.
Okay, so you're saying there is an alternative that they can explore in terms of accommodating the parking needs. Can you describe like proximity?
It's a parking lot owned by the church directly adjacent to the there's a street view or a aerial view.
This red square with the church.
So it backs up basically to the parking lot. And there's a business on West 69th Street that has a gate from their rear of their property to that same parking lot.
Okay.
So which would, I mean, indicate to us that they were at least open to that with another business to use their parking.
Is there space? Do we know that they have space to accommodate?
I don't know their daytime use of the parking lot. It does sound like there's maybe like a playground or something over there during the day, but you know, if even if it was like spots that weren't directly adjacent to the business use or the rear of their property, I think that would still be a better solution in our opinion.
Okay, understood. All right, any questions from the board?
Can I make a comment about the parking lot?
Give me one
The
second.
church?
1 second. I'm
Okay.
gonna open it up for questions
Okay.
from the board and then I'll circle back.
Uh,
All right, any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, through you to City Planning, I don't know if I heard it correctly, but the correspondence mentioned that that potential property may not be used for infill housing. If that is correct, and I did hear that correct, can you speak to that? Is this property a potential for development for housing?
Are you referring to the parking lot itself or the
The parking lot itself, I believe the
Yeah, I think I did hear
correspondence
that
from.
comment, and someone basically said even if they turned it into a parking lot now, it could still be infill in the future. I don't recall exactly who said that,
That
but
was Councilwoman Jenny Spencer.
okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to piece the two together. So the property could be developed into housing as well.
Yes, it's zoned for 2 families, so up to 2 units would be allowed on the property.
Thank you. That was my question.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair.
All right,
It seems apparent that there haven't been any community meetings for this project with regard to including the CDC, the councilwoman, and obviously Our Lady of Mount Carmel hasn't been involved, it sounds like, or the residents. Is that true or is that happening?
We spoke with the CDC about the project by email correspondence, including providing this documentation. And then the councilwoman we also met with. We have not met with Our Lady of Mount Carmel simply because we're making a significant investment in this property and we are under contract for both properties, not one. And an agreement working with the church is not permanent. So we did not have, you're correct, we did not have any conversations with the church or convene a community meeting. That's correct.
All right, so that's missing in this particular situation. Then, secondly, has the appellant or city planning done a professional parking survey to know how many actual parking spaces would be available?
You mean, no, we have not.
Mr. Lull, through the chair, has there been any parking survey done? Do you know?
We've done parking studies on Detroit Avenue in the past. We have not done any parking study that I'm aware of for the more residential areas
Okay.
in this neighborhood.
Okay, so the available parking that might be, that could be accessible on Detroit, do you know how many spaces would be available? What's the walking distance, and are they going to be free or paid?
Is that a question to Mr. Law or the appellant?
That was to Mr. Lull through you.
Okay.
I don't have an exact number. Detroit Avenue parking is paid parking. I believe we are working on converting those parking spaces from the old school meter parking to the more updated, scanning and paying electronically, which would help with ease of access, hopefully. But I think the appellant has stated that they would need free parking for their employees, so I don't know that the paid parking solution is an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I have several, Madam Chair, so I'm just trying to, several questions.
All right, go right ahead.
To the appellant or to the appellant's architect, has there been a professional survey taken and executed on both parcels? Are the parcels, obviously they're still separate. Has there been consideration of consolidating the lots and with the potential of moving the parking area closer to the church structure to give a wider buffer to that residence that's adjacent to the parking?
This is the appellant's architect. There has not been a professional survey at this point, but the lot is vacant. It's kind of just is what it is as far as the size of it. As far as moving or consolidating lots, I don't believe you can consolidate across a right of way. So I don't think that would be an option in this case. And as far as moving the parking closer to the church, we would be talking about a matter of just a few feet. If we wanted to provide additional buffering at the rear, we could, but I think holding it back from the street edge is actually kind of what we saw as the priority to help it be least impactful to the street and neighborhood in general.
Madam Chair, I asked this question because in looking at the neighbor's adjacent property, looks to me like they've got a driveway that doesn't extend back. And so I was just looking to give them a little more leeway so they don't end up coming before us if and when they want to build a garage. So I was looking to see if there's a possibility of sliding the parking lot closer to the church. That's where my question
It would
comes.
impact them.
I am interested to know what the plant material is spec'd for that bed that is adjacent to the residence, the neighbor's residence.
We do not have the full planting materials submitted at this time.
We would do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we would do that for the design review and permit phase.
Okay.
Yeah, we
And
have.
at this point, the site plan does not reflect a fence around the perimeter. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
So we're
Are
open
you
that to
planning,
condition.
are you planning, sorry.
I was gonna say, well, we're open to that being a condition of approval.
Right, condition. All right. Were you planning on doing a gated entry on the front drive? Would you put a fence across the front? Obviously compliant with the 50% opacity that would be necessary for that. And would you have that gated? And please confirm for me too, I believe the appellant noted that you're not going to be using asphalt, you're using a permeable paving material.
Yes, confirm the permeable paving material first. The site plan currently does not consider fencing along the roadway or a gate. However, again, if that's a condition of approval, we would provide that. Although I would like to have conversations with neighbors as well before actually, again, sort of as part of the design review process. I think that would be an appropriate consideration.
Yes, I would agree. It would be an appropriate consideration. Madam Chair, there's a lot of moving parts that are missing here on both the site plan. We've had no community engagement. There's been no parking survey. The lots, this is, as you know, something that I'm a bit of a stickler for, is there's been no professional survey. And that would put the residents, the neighboring residents, the burden of that on them. And if we're going to add fencing anywhere on there, it's not reflective on the site plan. And there's not been conversation with the church to the rear with the possibility of some contingency plans, as city planner Lull has noted. I'm of the opinion at this point, though we've spent a great deal of time on testimony here with all the people that have been present, but I am of the opinion that at this point, I often use the phrase, it's not fully cooked. It seems to me like this needs to go back to have further discussion of the stakeholders involved and some further planning input and conversations with the church to the rear. Generally speaking, I'd say it's 7 parking places, but I think there's some opportunity to hone this plan and certainly get more community engagement. And I would like to see this be postponed and have more work done on the plans and conversations, again, with the stakeholders, as I stated. I realize we spent a lot of time on this, but
Yeah, and I'm always reluctant to postpone things when we've already done the business to make a decision. So they've given us materials to decide. So I think it's up to us to go ahead and render a decision, given that, we have everything here before us. So we've got several hands that are raised, and I know that you wanted to give a comment. So I'll start with you, and then I'll go to the hands that have been raised online for additional comment.
I just wanted to make the comment that I'm a person violating my parallel, known that church and parking lot for many, many years. They do not use that parking lot for parking. I mean, it's not, there's no cars there that would impede if they needed parking. The only thing, there is a preschool closer to where that church is. And so those kids very rarely come outside for recess. They keep them inside. The kids in the grade school, they come out for 20 minutes from 10 to 10:20, and then dismissal is at 2:40, 2:45, and they exit from the upper part of they come in through West 70th, and the parking lot this is where they come in, they pick up their kids, they turn around and go right back in the street. They don't even come down there. So that wouldn't impede parking either. There's not a lot of traffic in that parking lot.
So is it your testimony that there is an opportunity for the appellant to consider, maybe partnering with that church for
Yes.
parking opportunities?
Yes, I have no idea how the church would react, but I know there is opportunity, and I know they have done it in the past.
All right, understood. All right, we'll go to the hands that have been raised online. I'll start with you first, Attorney O'Shea.
Thank you. I'll just ratify what I think I'm hearing already. With all due respect to the great idea that Andrew Watterson has here for this business. And I think there's an overwhelming support for that. but obviously the sticking point is the parking lot, and we'd hate to see, quite frankly, the denial of the parking lot lead to the extinguishment of the opportunity to conduct this business. So I ratify and what the other board member was saying, Madam Chairman, saying, look, to rush this is to kind of screw it up. For lack of a simpler term, it may be a much better idea to adjourn or postpone the decision on this, given what you've heard here this morning, and allow for a community meeting to discuss a resolution that makes everyone happy. I'd hate to see two eggs get broken when only one needs to be broken. So in that regard, I think in this unique situation, I don't want to use the term inappropriately, a rush to a vote here might, eliminate a great opportunity for the neighborhood. So I echo that potentially more community meetings and more meetings with the folks that have an interest in this outcome should take place before the BZA actually rules on this. With that, I yield.
All right, thank you for that. I'll now go to John Zayak.
Yeah. I just want to state a couple things for the record because I've heard some commentary that is frankly incorrect. Number one, we were asked by the CDC to purchase this property and demolish this house. And we did. This was subsequent to opening up or to purchasing the church itself, which in and of itself was a challenge. Let's put it that way. Then we were asked, apparently there were some problems with the property that we were not part of. We didn't own it, didn't realize any of this existed, and all of a sudden property wound up in the ownership of the CDC, Detroit Shoreway, which then asked that we purchase it, tear it down, and talk about it, which is what we've done. Speaking of talking about it, I have talked with 7 and 10 developers. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue.
I have talked with between 7 and 10 developers about putting housing there, and for whatever reason, they have chosen not to participate. I've said I'll sell them the property, I'll throw in the property as ownership, equity, whatever they come up with, and they have not, for whatever reason, they have not been amenable to housing at this site, there's been reference to this past dispute. I don't know of any past. We have not had any past dispute of any kind with any attorney, any representative at all. I don't know what this is talking about. Maybe it has to do with the fact that the house itself fell into disrepair. That was that was before we were involved. Maybe that's why we became involved. I don't know, but there was no dispute that we've ever been involved in with the community. There hasn't. And with that, I conclude.
All right, thank you. I'll now turn to Lou. I can see your hand raised. Do you have additional comment?
I just have one last question, and just in case this does get approved on the lot, what are the odds and what are the chances of it being rezoned back to single family or multifamily? Does that zoning get changed?
Chief Leonard, I'll have you chime in here, please.
Good morning, Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator. So the zoning of the property doesn't change. It remains two-family. What's changing is the use.
Gotcha.
So in the future, if this use variance is granted based on the standards in the screen, if somebody ever wanted to come back and, buy the property and turn it into a single family or two family, they could do so.
Yeah, I just want to voice an opinion too, back to John. Back 15 years ago when this property did come up for sale, I did show interest in acquiring this property and rehabbing it and make it, back to well, not back to, but improving. We were willing to take on a project and rebuilt it and put new kitchens and so forth. So I was flatly refused by Detroit Shoreway, and I'm not sure why, but at that time I was told that there's no way that I was going to be able to acquire that property. They had some additional use or intended use for that lot or that property. So here we are, like 15 years later, and it's still sitting vacant.
All right, thanks, Lou. And I'll go
So
to
I'm
you.
not sure what they had told John. I'm not sure what they had told John, but I'm kind of curious to know why. It was not that bad of a shape. Yeah, I wouldn't live there. Maybe you wouldn't live there. None of us would live there. It did need attention, but we were kind of willing to make the investment in the neighborhood. We felt strongly about it.
All right, thanks, Lou. Sarah, you're up next.
Yeah, I just wanted to correct, well, I have a couple of things, but I first off just wanted to correct. So street parking on Detroit is only paid to the east of 69th, so west it is not paid. And they put in the new parking payment system in that area, like right in Gordon Square, where we know we see the most people coming, but to the western part where like Ready Set is and Local West, and a lot of businesses that have their own big parking lots, like there's the Family Dollar, Dollar General, I don't remember which one it is, and the funeral home up there, and then the McDonald's. Those businesses all have their own parking lot. So parking is not paid to the on Detroit west of 69. And just to the point about UPS, we get packages daily. We see packages get delivered on the street. I worked in transportation for a long time. UPS does not pull off the street to make deliveries on residential streets usually. I just find that frustrating as a case for a parking lot. Just like the garbage truck blocks the street, the delivery trucks block the street. Yesterday, a lineman, was blocking the street, and it's just like part of living on the street. It's like part of what we're all used to. And then I just really wanted to reiterate, like, building a parking lot in a transit-oriented zone within a 5-minute walk of 24-hour transit, within a 10-minute walk of a doctor's office, near a school, near all of these different things that are nearby in our community, near the lake. It goes against what the Office of Sustainability stands for. It goes against what city planning, says that it stands for. It goes against adopted plans and policies from city council and other departments. So it's just one of these things that feels really confusing to come from the city of, to approve a parking lot in a place where in many ways, I mean, even form-based code is being piloted a few blocks over, and we know that specifically omits parking minimums, and there's a lot of information on the website that talks about why we don't need to have parking minimums in our cities and what the effects of that has been in many places. So I would feel really disappointed in the city and for our neighbors that have said, as James mentioned, like, they haven't heard about it, and nobody in the neighborhood sees a use in a parking lot for a business that's operating just 40 hours a week. So at a bare minimum, it would be really great to have more community engagement, but understanding that time is a lot. And I mean, this is my day off and I'm here talking about this. I would really urge the city to think about what this feels like to people who live in the neighborhood now and today, and not just folks that are visiting from other neighborhoods. And I'd also flag that there's bus routes that connect to other neighborhoods as well. So if folks are really worried about parking, that's a great other alternative to use. Can attest to the reliability of the 26 and the 71 that come within a 5-minute walk. So thanks again. I really appreciate the time that has spent on this.
All right. We have spent a lot of time on this, so I am now going to call for a vote. I will entertain a motion.
Wait, Madam Chair, I do just have I know we're ready for the vote, but just a quick question if I could.
Please, go right ahead.
To the appellant. So I know that these are two projects, and we've heard if the parking isn't part of the church, these two things go together. If you don't receive the parking, is the church rehabilitation, is that off the table? I know that you mentioned that this is part of the agreement initially, so can you maybe just speak to that as well? Just so that we can hear what your own feedback and thoughts are around that discussion, because it seems like people like the church
I know.
and not the parking lot.
Yeah, we have not been able to figure out a way for us to move forward without the parking lot. And our agreement is to purchase both properties, so we would have to, at bare minimum, we would have to renegotiate the purchase price of this project, and I don't know if the seller would be amenable to that. And we would have to consider rethink our entire project on how to move forward. I would just say at this time, I'd be inclined to say we would not move forward with the redevelopment at the church. So that's my answer.
Thank you.
All right, other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion just to get the decision onto the floor. Motion to approve calendar number 25-090, just for discussion purposes and to get it on the floor.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Ms. Holzer?
No.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-90 is granted. This board will ratify this decision next Monday. We'll send the appellant's letter. You can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
All right, that concludes our discussion on this matter. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
All right, that is all of the cases we have on the agenda for the morning. We will now turn
Madam
to
Chair, the
Did I miss
first
one?
item,
Oh, we did call that one and
Yeah.
no one appeared.
we reached out and she stated that she was on the call. I'm not sure if she still is.
Okay, let
After
me
discussion.
recall, calendar number 25-101. Is there anyone present from North Coast RE LLC online? Do we know her name?
Please use *6 if you're on a call to unmute yourself.
Oh, there is a call-in user who is on mute, who I haven't heard chime in. Okay, I can see.
Aisha White. But I'm
sorry,
not from, I'm not from, my name is Aisha White, but I'm not from the program that you just mentioned.
Which case are you here for?
2114 West 85th Street.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes, okay. Are you here on behalf of North Coast RE LLC?
No, I don't know who that is.
Okay, who are you here on behalf of?
Loyal Home Care Services.
Okay, and did you put in an application to use the property as a residential facility?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
That's not be the owner.
and are you the owner of the property?
Yes, I am.
Okay, give us one moment, please.
Let's see. 114 West 85th Street.
Madam Chair, the county auditor information identified North Coast RE LLC as the owner of the property. And I don't believe we've received any documents otherwise showing that the person is, the caller is the current owner. We don't have any documentation to that effect.
On my place, it's showing Aisha White.
White, yep. I was just looking at a.
Could you repeat that, please?
On my place for 2114 West 85th Street, it's showing Aisha White as the owner as of January 30th, 2025.
Interesting. So the information that we found when we did our mailing was different. With that information, I don't know if you could screenshot that for me, Ms. Holzer, and send that to me.
Yep.
If the board is comfortable moving forward with that, I mean, we have done this in the past where they can, where they send us proof of ownership or similar to an authorization letter.
Does that create any issues with notice or at all, in your opinion?
The neighbors were properly notified.
Okay. Oh, Shannon has her hand raised. Please chime in, Chief.
The information that we have also is that it's owned by North Coast RE LLC and 2114 appears to be part of a duplex or a double lot. So I'm not sure what you all are looking at, but what we have is also the same as what Liz has.
Yeah, Nina and I just pulled up My Place, the Cuyahoga County website platform. I'm not sure where the disconnect is, but it does show Asia White. And then when I also go to the public search for Cuyahoga County, it does reference a transfer to Asia White that is pretty recent.
Yeah.
I think there's a mismatch in the parcel versus the address here.
So maybe there's an error somewhere.
It's based on the application, yep.
Excuse me, this is Xavier Bay. It looks like the information is correct. The county, Cuyahoga County has a parcel number listed 005-30125 with the 2114 West 85th Street. And it seems like they also have the same information, or at least the same parcel listed as 005-30124 at the address 2110 West 85th Street. So it does look like there's some misalignment on the county's end.
Yeah, it's showing that 2110 West 85th Street is owned by North Coast RE LLC. That's that 00530124. But 2114 is a different parcel number.
All right, so it looks like we are considering the 2114 with Asia White as the owner. Are we all in agreement with that? Shannon, please chime in. I can see that your hand is raised again.
Can you verify the parcel number that you all are looking at?
Yes, the one that I see is 005-30125. And that's the one that shows on my end as belonging to Asia White. And it does have the address of 2114 West 85th.
30125.
Yes, 125. Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. And you can see that 30124 is a separate parcel that does belong to North Coast RE LLC.
So the address associated with the 005-30124 is not the same address?
Correct. The one associated with 30124 is address of 2110 West 85th Street. So it looks to be maybe next door or somehow adjacent. Chief, go right ahead.
So this application in our system, the owner of the property is listed, the parcel number listed here is 005-30124, and the owner was North Coast RE LLC. So I don't know what that means for Liz from a standpoint of listening to this case, but it goes specifically off of what the permit says in the system.
Okay, so it seems like it was adjudicated for a different property. So I don't know, in my mind, it seems like it should be re-adjudicated for the property that she intends to actually have the residential facility located at. Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case because we would need to look at the property that was actually submitted for, and the variances need to go to the right property address and we need to clarify the ownership issue.
Yep, okay. So does she need to submit a new application? How would you like her to proceed?
I think she should amend her application to indicate that she's the owner because I'm on the My Place website as well and I'm still pulling up North Coast RE. So I'm not
Okay.
really sure how we're getting separate ownerships here. Maybe there was a
Okay.
transfer, maybe the applicant can speak to when she purchased the property.
Yeah. Okay. Asia White, are you still on the call?
Yes, yes, I'm on the call.
All right, and I just want to confirm with you, I understand you want to have a residential facility. Do you intend to do that at the address of 2114 West 85th Street or 2110 West 85th Street?
2114 West 85th Street.
Okay, so what it looks like, the application was submitted for the address of 2110, which would be parcel number 005-30124. And instead, you want to submit an application for 005-30125. So it looks like the department will need for you to amend your application so that this can be properly adjudicated for your property as opposed to a different property. Do you understand how to amend your application?
No, are you saying that the incorrect address was written on the application?
Yes, it's either the incorrect address or the incorrect parcel number, but either way, the reference to the parcel is incorrect. And it has to be amended on the application to correct that. Shannon,
Okay,
go
so
right
how's
ahead.
that not?
Hold on one second. Shannon, your hand is raised. Do you have additional comment?
Yeah, so the address was for 2114 West 85th Street, Cleveland, Ohio 44102. The parcel number was 005-30124, owner North Coast RE LLC. Sometimes in this situation, it looks like it was a double lot. And so maybe it's the case that the owner came through and did a subdivision. And it just hasn't posted in our GIS files yet.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm assuming happened, but I'm not sure. But she can just go in and amend the parcel number. If she did it online, it's what it looks like. It was an online application. And then that way we can see and add the
Actually, I didn't do it
site plan.
online. I went down to the building department.
Madam Chair.
Okay, so
Yeah, Madam Chair, it looks like the parcel number was identified by our engineering department. Seems like the only information that's incorrect here then is the ownership.
So you're saying that it was adjudicated for the proper parcel number?
No, our parcel number was not identified by the appellant. It was identified by the city as
Yes,
the
because I
Birmingham
did
Arts-
everything downtown.
So I guess what I'm concerned about is that we go forward and the calculations and so forth is all based on a different parcel number. So what I want to be clear about is that we're adjudicating and making the decision as to 2114 and not 2110.
And so I think that Shannon and I, or whoever is the plans examiner on this, can just confirm. I think that the appellant, I don't know if there's anything more that the appellant can do. It looks like it might have been an internal error.
Okay, and do you think it's an internal error that needs to be corrected before we make a decision? Or do you think we're having good order if we
You know,
decide?
If it seems to Ms. Leonard that the parcels were split and consolidated, I guess just to be safe, we can postpone this. It will be 3 weeks though. So, and I can just confirm in that time, I can just confirm with the plans examiner and Ms. Leonard that there aren't any additional variances that would be required.
Okay, Shannon, go right ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say that the variances here would be the same. It's for the use of a small residential facility. And they're within 1,000 feet. So they don't need it for the use, but they would need it for being within 1,000 feet of another already existing residential facility.
Okay, so do you feel comfortable with the board going forward with the decision as it's currently adjudicated? Or do you think there should be some steps taken and a postponement had?
I mean, if I'm looking at this map correctly and I'm looking at the county, it looks like the right parcel, the right address here was adjudicated. It's just a mismatch in parcel numbers on the actual application. But I still think you would be within 1,000 feet of the ones that are listed in this bubble, but I'll defer to Liz.
Yeah, I will say that it's saying that parcel 005300125 has been retired by the appraisal department. I don't know if that's a GIS issue or a fiscal office issue.
So they must have been consolidated. I feel like we need to
interesting.
straighten this out.
Yeah.
before we Go forward.
It seems if the chairwoman is more comfortable with us, the only thing that we would do again is just repost it with the proper owner. The address is correct according to the applicant. Therefore, the location was likely identified correctly when the plans examiner reviewed it to give the distance requirements. I don't know if Mr. Bay can confirm if he could reference the map quickly right now, if you wanted us to do that right now.
Shannon has something in the comments. Chief, can you sort of reiterate what you said in the comments?
Yeah, so I just heard you state that they have retired the parcel number. So what that means is that the parcel has been consolidated. So now you have two dwelling units that may possibly be two family dwelling units. So I think we need to re-review it based on when the application came in and find out when that retirement happened from the county. So we could contact survey in the county. So I think a postponement would be best, just so that we can cover all bases here.
Okay, I thank you for that. Do you need the appellant to submit anything in order for any of that to happen?
No, because I think that we are on the understanding that the new parcel number is 005300124.
Okay, all right, perfect. Okay, so we will postpone this. It looks like 3 weeks. Is that sufficient time, Chief, to follow the processes that you need to follow?
Yeah, the only other thing I can suggest for the applicant is that if they do not agree with the fact that these parcels have been consolidated, that they submit something to Liz showing that they are the actual owner of the parcel and the dwelling unit.
Okay. All right, Asia, I want to come back to you just to make sure that you're tracking. It looks like there is some confusion around the two possibly related parcels. They are adjacent, and the city is just not clear, whether they have been consolidated or not. So the city's going to follow a process to hash that out, and we're going to give this a new date. We're going to bring this back in 3 weeks. Did we say, Madam Secretary?
Sure, actually. August 4th would be the date.
Okay. All right. So we're going to bring this back August 4th for reconsideration of your variance. Do you have any questions, Asia?
No.
Okay. All right. We'll see you back here August 4th.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So sorry for the long wait.
No problem.
right.
Have a good day.
All right. You too. All right. We're now going to move to old business. We have numbers 1 and 2 that are up here. Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
Ms. Faith, any objection?
Oh, she's on mute.
Sorry, it was on mute. No objection.
All right. No objection to either of those. Those will be ratified, and that concludes our business. It is now 12:20, and we will adjourn.